recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for holding this hearing. I know you have many topics before you, and I appreciate it. As my colleagues have heard me say many times over, we have a program in the Northeast Corridor called the Gateway Program to modernize our century-old infrastructure between New Jersey and New York that is utilized by both New Jersey Transit, Amtrak's Northeast Corridor, some of the New York transit entities, and it's absolutely vital to the future of my state, the Northeast Corridor, and our national economy. And I say the national economy because that region generates 20% of GDP for the entire nation. And this section is incredibly important. I'm happy to report that we've made significant progress on Gateway over the last year or so. The Portal North Bridge project signed a full funding agreement with the Federal Transit Administration in January of last year. That has allowed over $800 million in federal funding to begin to flow to the project. And the Hudson River tunnels that had been stalled for years under the previous administration are moving again. Last year, the Biden administration finalized the environmental review projects, and within the last few weeks, the project received an improved rating from FTA that allow it to move forward under the Capital Investment Grants, or the SIG program. And that's why I raised this, because I want to talk a little bit about SIG as part of our effort. But before that, I want to thank the chairman and other colleagues on the committee for their work to pass a strong transit title as part of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act that increased the authorization for the SIG program by 50%. Last week, we passed a final FY22 spending bill that included an additional $400 million for SIG, and when combined with direct appropriations, it essentially amounts to a doubling of SIG from FY21 to 22. So I'd like to ask Ms. Pinkerton and Mr. Greenwood, both of your transit systems have small start projects in the SIG pipeline. Can you speak about the importance of the SIG program to your respective agencies and the communities that they serve?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. Our Small Starts Capital Improvement Grant applications do fall under a regional growth initiative locally that we've really put a lot of thought into over the last 5 to 10 years, where we understand the rapid growth, the addition of 1 million more people to our region could cause housing to increase and become unaffordable. We're seeing that realized today. And we're also seeing that the amount of infrastructure that would need to be invested could cost billions. But if we build in a smaller footprint, in a more transit-oriented development manner, then we have the ability to actually reduce the tax burden on our local residents. That will require investment in transit in an order of magnitude we've not done before in the Central Ohio region. So the CIG program is absolutely essential to us as we transform our community from a small city into a metropolitan area. And I need to mention that in particular, the policy changes around the small starts portion has been vital for communities of ours who have gone from a mid-sized city to a large city status just in the last census.
Mr. Greenwood, you want to add anything to that?
Similarly, I would say that the improvement through the CIG of really changing our ceiling from $300 million to $400 million has really unlocked the ability for MARTA in particular to move a lot more projects through the pipeline. So we've gotten ourselves into a position where through a more agile administrative landscape, we're able to execute on multiple projects at the same time, bringing to the communities, the sense of soon certain positive results, as opposed to a landscape that normally causes people to hear about something and then wait and wait for results. They're able to get a timeline that is more in keeping with their expectations, and it allows us to more aggressively move through the process.
And I assume you both believe that Congress should fully fund the federal share of these eligible products. Is that a fair statement?
We do.
One last question. I'm a former mayor, and I have seen firsthand the transformative impact that access to well-planned transit can have on communities. I've long worked to provide additional resources to strengthen the linkage between affordable housing and access to transit. I'm pleased that some progress was made at that front in the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, providing greater focus on transportation planning activities, including what I call livable communities, or the effort of transit villages, and putting it all together in terms of infrastructure. I appreciate have worked with this on the chairman in the past. Can you speak to the ways in which your agencies have worked or are working to incorporate access to affordable housing when developing and evaluating the impacts of a potential project?
If I may begin, at MARTA, that has been a staple of our development. We talk about lines and dots and making sure that not only do we build the community through effective corridor planning, but making sure that the dots, the stations, the areas around those stations are well supported. We firmly believe that equitable transit-oriented development is essential to the development of a community. When we speak about economic development, the intention is for people that live in the community to be able to share and contribute to that economic development. We also know that, in families where rental income or rental rates are difficult, it's often the case that people are moving, changing locations in order to find housing that they can afford. And the domino effect of that, of course, is that the children that are established in school and trying to, demonstrate their own academic prowess end up having to change schools and relocate themselves and start over again. So we're affecting more than just, the immediate members of the family that we see getting on the trains. We're affecting the entire family. So equitable transit-oriented development forces communities not forces, but enables communities to work together to plan deliberately to protect the interests of everyone.
Thank you for your insights. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Menendez.